Tonight on KGW News.
There's nothing we can do. It's just insane.
Flames erupt from a homeless camp as neighbors watch, feeling helpless. Plus,
well, we all are going to have emotional trauma probably forever.
A mother calls out a nonprofit that helps bail people out of jail and says because of them, her son was murdered. And later,
I love to cook. I think it's a way to take care of people.
The efforts from a Portland Russian restaurant to help those suffering in Ukraine. Your news starts now.
And good evening. We begin tonight with Portland's ongoing struggle with its staggering homeless crisis. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. We're going to get to that fire in just a moment. But first, the mayor today, Ted Wheeler, extended an emergency declaration that allows the city to speed up clearing certain camps. It applies to those along dangerous streets and highways controlled by ODOT. The mayor's office says 50 sites have been cleared since early February. That is when the emergency was first declared, though ODOT acknowledges in some spots campers have already returned.
It's a big problem, and it's a repeating problem, and it keeps on coming back. The biggest issue, as we've seen so tragically recently, is it's a danger to the people that are camping next to the highways.
The most recent tragic example Sunday in Salem, when police say a drunk driver ran off the road and into tents, killing 4 people, and crashes into camps have happened in Portland too. This extension lasts for 2 weeks, and it is not clear how many more times it can be renewed. Okay, the reality of living on the street sometimes, an out-of-controlled fire simply sparked by trying to eat or to stay warm. Flames shooting out of a homeless camp this afternoon on Southeast Division Street under an overpass. Let's go ahead and bring in our Alma McCarty. Alma, you talked to firefighters who responded, and they didn't appear to be surprised here.
Well, David, Portland Fire and Rescue tells me they responded to 2 homeless campfires within just 30 minutes. This isn't an uncommon occurrence in our city. Luckily, this afternoon, no one was hurt.
My hands are shaking. I ran out there with a fire extinguisher just as it started.
Jeffrey Cooper recorded this video from his window. He and the people below watching in disbelief.
They said there was nobody in there. And I said to move everything back, and I ran and called 911.
It was just a little nail biting at the moment, not knowing when they were going to show up or how bad it was going to go, with cars parked right next to it. I didn't know if somebody's car was going to explode the next second or something.
I saw it from a distance, actually.
Terry Foster with Portland Fire and Rescue said crews had trouble getting to the scene with a train parked on the tracks. After a slight delay, 10 firefighters responded and put it out. The cause, unattended cooking. No one was hurt, and nearby,
there was another houseless campfire under the steel bridge off the East Bank Esplanade, so it was kind of back to back.
Charred remnants of a makeshift home, a reminder of just one of the dangers of living outside.
Every human being deserves food and shelter, and this is unacceptable.
For us that are fortunate enough to be in homes, there's codes on how you build a home to make it more resistant to fire. Those things are not things that are thought of when people are building their encampments.
Firefighters say typically houseless people use fires as heat sources to stay warm. They allow this as long as it's not close to anything combustible. They said the key is to educate folks on how best to avoid a tent fire and stay safe.
Just a reminder of what people, and these are people, have to go through to survive on the streets. Alma, thank you very much. Well, just in tonight, big news in an effort to shake up Portland City Council. The Charter Commission that is reviewing how best to restructure the government agreed on 3 major changes. Let's run you through them. Number 1, Portlanders would get to vote for city council members by ranking them on the ballot. That's instead of just picking one. Number 2, the city would add 4 new geographic districts. So each district would have 3 elected members. That would add up to a total of 12 city council members. Finally, those council members would focus on setting policy while the mayor would run the city's day-to-day operations. A professional city administrator, essentially a CEO, would help the mayor do that. Now, if the Charter Commission gives the plan final approval in June, it would then be up to voters to decide on the changes in November. All right, developing tonight, investigators in Columbia County are working to figure out what led officers to shoot and kill a man at a tow yard. It is also not clear if the suspect fired a gun or if he was even armed. So here is what we know. This began as a disturbance call at Grumpy's Towing, that's along Highway 30 in Scappoose. Shortly after they got to the business after 10 this morning, one of the deputies and one Oregon State Trooper fired their guns. A suspect involved in the disturbance was killed. Now here's how a witness who works nearby described it.
As soon as the cops pulled in, it went from a couple of shots to a bunch of shots, and then it was just over pretty much as fast as it started, you know. So it was loud, it was crazy. I was pretty scared, to be honest with you.
Yeah, who wouldn't be? Investigators say the man who was killed was wanted for murder, though in a completely separate case. Okay, let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. A man was attacked in Portland's St. John's neighborhood early this morning when he tried to stop a man from breaking into his car. The 64-year-old victim confronted the man, seen in surveillance pictures we're about to show you, going through his car. That's when an accomplice jumped in and started hitting the victim with a metal file. The victim's wife and some neighbors helped stop the attack on North Kimball Avenue there. They held the accomplice down until police could arrest him. The other suspect is still out there tonight. Okay, this is just staggering. The Portland Police Enhanced Community Safety Team tallied up the toll of gun violence from the past 7 days, and 23 people have been shot in Portland in the last week, one of them fatally. Now, that team responds specifically to non-fatal shootings. They've also made 3 arrests during that time. We've learned the team is stepping up their response on Friday and Saturday nights to help with those investigations. Okay, to an update on a story we brought you last night at 11. Police have arrested a driver they say crashed a stolen pickup into the Tualatin River, and then the driver abandoned his girlfriend. Body cams were recording as Washington County deputies rescued the woman who was pregnant from the water. Officers have named the driver as Jonathan Laura. Hillsborough police arrested him today on unrelated crimes. Well, groups have started pooling their money to bail people out of jail. Now, it's already happened in one high-profile case in Portland and a disturbing case in Washington. So tonight on the story, Pat Doris dug into how the bail system works and an idea to change it.
The way things work right now, a judge sets bail and the suspect or someone else pays a percentage of that bail. Then if they don't show up for court, they're on the hook for the full amount. Consider what happened in this case. Malik Muhammad was sentenced this week to 10 years in prison for violence during the Portland protests in 2020. Prosecutors say he threw a Molotov cocktail at police, which carried an attempted murder charge. When he was arrested last year, the judge set bail at more than $2 million. A group called the Portland Freedom Fund raised enough money to get him out of jail, $212,000. Their website says they are a volunteer-run abolitionist organization currently dedicated to reducing harms perpetuated against our black, brown, and indigenous neighbors by the criminal justice system through posting bail so they may navigate their case from a position of freedom. Muhammad was released, but not for long. A few days later, the feds arrested him on their own charges for the same case. A much more extreme situation happened in Washington state with a different group. The Northwest Community Bail Fund says their goal is to fight systemic racism in the criminal justice system. But they bailed out a man accused of a violent assault who then went on to allegedly murder someone.
Prosecutor's office told the judges he was a danger. That word should have meant something to somebody, and it didn't. And I don't have a baby. I don't have my son.
That was the mother of the victim who was stabbed to death at Seattle's City Hall Park. The suspect had been in jail accused of assaulting a 65-year-old man in the same park. The Northwest Community Bail Fund paid his $5,000 bail, and 2 months later, he was arrested for that murder. Fund leaders say everyone has the right to get out of jail, saying you're innocent until proven guilty. They want to get rid of the cash bail system entirely. Here in Oregon, the Multnomah County District Attorney ran on a platform of eliminating bail. Here's what he told us in a statement today. It doesn't matter to victims of crime if a defendant has $500 or not. What matters to them is their safety and the safety of the community that they live in. That's our first priority in the DA's office. I'm concerned with the danger that a person poses if released, both to the victim in the case and to the public safety, not the level of financial resources they have available. My office continues to advocate to reduce reliance on cash bail and instead focus on detaining those individuals who pose the most significant threat of future criminality regardless of their financial means. So, what is the alternative? Well, in some states like New Jersey and Alaska, they've replaced cash bail with a system where the judges determine whether or not someone can be released based on things like the severity of the charge, the suspect's criminal history, and how likely they are to show up for court. That way, if someone who's rich is arrested for murder, they can't bail their way out of jail. And on the other side, if someone who's poor is arrested for something minor, they won't be stuck in jail because they don't have money to post the bail. But some bail reform advocates argue that's not great either because judges can be biased, they say. It's a complicated issue. We dig into it much more in our full report, which you can watch right now on KGW's YouTube channel. And let us know what you think. You can email us at thestory@kgw.com or leave us a message, 503-226-5090.
Our thanks to